What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be talking about how to counter the strike team in Black Ops 4 multiplayer. This is something that a lot of people have been requesting as part of this series. I've already covered how to counter Nomad's dog, as well as how to counter Ajax's shield. By far, the #1 requested thing in the comment section of those videos is how do you counter the strike team members once they're already on the ground. So today I'm going to be sharing everything that I tested, all the different methods that I tested, and letting you guys know what is effective, what isn't effective. So next time an enemy calls a strike team against you, you won't really have to worry about them too much. So before we get into the different counters, let's have a look at the strike team itself. When a strike team is called in, there will be 2 strike team members that come in on the map, and they drop from a helicopter. Keep in mind, you can shoot that helicopter out of the sky before they get there, but it is quite difficult to do most of the time. So throughout the video, we're going to be only focusing on how to kill the strike team members once they're already on the ground. As for the health of the strike team members, as far as I can tell based on my testing, they have 1200 health, so quite a ridiculous amount of health. It's going to take a lot of shots to kill them, and usually it will take teamwork as well, unless you use some of the methods that I've mentioned throughout this video. The first counters to mention here are going to be, first up, Engineer. Engineer allows you to see the strike team members through walls all the time. It's not like it's just like a pulse or something. You see them 100% of the time through walls, and this can be great for simply avoiding those strike team members, or making sure that you know what to expect when you come around a corner and run into one of those. So Engineer is great for locating them, but it's not necessarily a perfect counter because they'll still kill you quite easily. Next up, we also have Cold-Blooded. Cold-Blooded doesn't make you invisible to the strike team members, at least not in its current state. What it essentially does is it makes the strike team members kind of stupid towards you. I don't know how else to put it. When you're not using Cold-Blooded and you come around a corner and come face to face with a strike team member, they will usually melt you really quickly. They'll completely destroy you. However, when you have Cold-Blooded, oftentimes you can like run circles around the strike team members and they'll shoot at you and they'll try to lock onto you, but their aim is just terrible most of the time, and it usually takes them a decent amount of time to kill you unless you're standing still. So Cold-Blooded is a great counter if you just want to avoid strike team members, like if you didn't know they were there around that corner, but you happen to have Cold-Blooded on and then you run into them and you see them, it often gives you plenty of time to get yourself out of that situation, whereas without Cold-Blooded, you would have been killed almost immediately. Having said that, when it comes to actually going in and facing those strike team members and trying to kill them, if you're standing still or moderately still while you're shooting back at them, they will often still be able to kill you fairly easily. So those 2 perks, they can definitely help you deal with strike team members, but they aren't perfect counters by any means. So let's start getting into the various things that I tested. First up, let's start with the attachments. The first attachment I wanted to test here was FMJ as well as FMJ2. The reason for this is FMJ is supposed to deal more damage to score streaks, and it works really effectively against like helicopters and UAVs and things like that. But it turns out it has no effect whatsoever on strike team members. So strike team members aren't really coded as a score streak in that manner. They're actually coded more as an enemy player. So don't worry about pulling out that FMJ2 class because it's not going to help you against a strike team member. However, high caliber, this will help you quite a bit against a strike team member. Just a couple standouts here. If you have the Paladin with high caliber on it, it will be a one-shot headshot against a strike team member. So if you happen to be sniping with that Paladin and high caliber on there, you could be a huge help to your team if you can manage to pick off one of those strike team members. And don't be too afraid of them. Don't just run away. You should be able to stand your ground and win a gunfight against them. The next most effective gun with high caliber that I personally found was the Auger. If you're using the Auger with high caliber, this will destroy those strike team members in about 3 shots each, as long as those shots are hitting the head, which again is a very fast kill, and you can take those strike team members out practically as if they were a regular player, which is really nice to know if you happen to be using that Auger with the high caliber attachment. Now, the final great one when you're going for headshots is actually going to be the Mozu with either high caliber. High caliber is pretty good. It'll take you a few shots per strike team member with the Mozu. Or even better, use the operator mod for the Mozu. This will be a one-shot kill to the head on strike team members. Just make sure you're hitting them in the head though. Body shots aren't really going to be helping you all that much. So if you want to have that dedicated class just to take out strike team members, then a Mozu with the Skull Splitter mod is definitely a great option for you. I also wanted to mention here that even if you're not running a gun with high caliber, I found that if you are going to be shooting at those strike team members, headshots definitely seem to be helping quite a bit against them. So if you are going that route where you just have any other regular sort of gun and you want to put damage into a strike team member, try to aim for the head if possible. Next up, I wanted to test the launcher because launchers are usually what you use against score streaks to take them out quickly. They're supposed to deal a lot of damage. First, I tried the launcher without any attachments on it, and this was absolutely useless. It was not getting kills against them at all. You will likely die several times before you can get a kill on a strike team member, even if you have cold-blooded, so don't even bother with the launcher. And also, I wanted to mention, I did try this with the high explosive attachment, and it was exactly the same story. The launcher is practically useless against a strike team member, so don't even bother trying to pull that out. You're much better off just shooting at it with any gun and trying to hit those headshots. Now, getting into equipment, let's start off with the non-special issue equipment. We're going to get into specialists and their equipment as well as their power weapons in a little bit. But I tried concussion grenades, and these actually do stun strike team members for a very short period of time. This will often give you time to get a ton of shots in them, sometimes finish them off, or at the very least, you can throw a concussion grenade just to get yourself out of that situation, just stun them and then leave the situation. But concussion grenades are somewhat effective. Next, I tested the Molotov, and don't even think about throwing a Molotov at a strike team member. It is useless against them, or practically useless. You could throw 10 Molotovs directly at a strike team member, and he'll still be alive. So don't even bother using those, at least in their current state. Maybe they'll get a buff like the Purifier did, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But Molotovs are definitely not an effective counter for the strike team. And finally, this brings us to the Combat Axe, which is an incredible counter to the strike team. It is a one-hit kill with the Combat Axe against them. And therefore, once again, if I was creating that perfect class just to take out strike team members, I'd have the Mozu Skull Splitter, and in my equipment slot, I'd be using 2 Combat Axes because you can destroy that strike team practically instantly with those. So now let's move into the specialists. With Ajax, his 9-bang is quite effective against the strike team. Just like the concussion grenade, it will stun those strike team members. They'll be kind of useless for several seconds, especially if you hit them with a full charged version of the 9-bang, which should give you plenty of time to take them out. You actually get more time with a fully charged 9-bang than you would with just a standard concussion grenade. This brings us to battery, and with a cluster grenade, it doesn't kill a strike team member even if you stick it to them. So it's not really the greatest counter to a strike team member. It will deal some damage to them, but I don't feel it's worth it to use your cluster grenade to help you take out a strike team member. I think you're better off just putting bullets down range towards him. It's kind of a similar story with the War Machine, although if you're just using it in that one situation where you want to quickly take out that strike team, the War Machine is somewhat effective. However, just keep in mind, it will take you several War Machine shots to take out a strike team member if it has full health, and therefore you're basically going to be spending your specialist just to take out those strike team members. You won't really have any shots to spare afterwards. Getting into Firebreak, before the most recent patch, Firebreak's Purifier was practically useless against the strike team members. However, post-patch, they gave it a massive buff against strike team members, and Purifier is now one of the most effective specialist weapons for taking out strike team members. It kills them practically instantly, as you can see there. As for his reactor core, this is somewhat effective for like stunning the strike team members and holding them in place for your teammates, but keep in mind, you will not be able to kill a full health strike team member with the reactor core before you die yourself. You can keep holding it the entire time until you die, and that strike team member will still be alive, but he will be hurt pretty bad after that. As for Nomad, Nomad's dog will go after strike team members. However, the strike team members are far more powerful, and 9 times out of 10, that dog is not going to be lasting very long. Getting into Prophet, Prophet's Tempest is really effective at hitting the strike team member and holding them in place. They will be stunned for quite a few seconds, which will give you or your teammates plenty of time to finish that strike team member off. However, keep in mind, the Tempest itself deals very little damage to a strike team member, and it will take you quite a few shots with the Tempest in order to actually kill a strike team member. So I wouldn't recommend wasting your entire Tempest just to finish off a strike team member. Instead, I would pop a couple shots into him every few seconds just to hold him in place so that your teammates can end up taking him out. As for his Seeker Mine, this is pretty much useless against strike team members. I found that they usually just lock onto that thing practically instantly and destroy it before it has any chance to do anything. Getting into Ruin, a well-placed Gravity Slam is a perfect counter to a strike team, especially if both of them happen to be huddled together, because it will instantly kill them as expected. Moving on to Seraph, I was actually quite surprised to see that Seraph's Annihilator isn't really the most effective counter to the strike team. I thought it would be a 1 to 2 shot kill maximum at a strike team member with a body shot, and it turns out that's not the case. It takes like 4 or 5 shots to kill a strike team member with the Annihilator. And therefore, once again, it's one of those situations where if you want to trade your special weapon just to take out that strike team, then by all means, go for it. It's probably going to be more effective for you than just shooting at them with a regular gun. But just keep in mind, it's going to take all of your Annihilator shots most of the time in order to get both of those strike team members. Now, finally, I did test Torque, but with his Razor Wire, they will just shoot it or they'll just run right into it. And it'll deal a very small amount of damage to them, but they'll end up destroying the Razor Wire super easy. So don't rely on that to save you against a strike team member. And same thing goes with your Barricade, actually. It will damage them very, very slightly, but they'll just run up to it and melee it and shoot it. I guess it'll distract them for a little while, but just keep in mind, the Barricade is not an effective way to kill a strike team member. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for all of the things that work and don't work against a strike team. Just as a recap, the most effective ways to kill a strike team member in this game are going to be a Paladin with high caliber and a headshot, the Mozu with the Operator mod, which is the Skull Splitter, as well as hitting a headshot, the Augur DMR with high caliber hitting headshots, combat axes, the Purifier, as well as the Gravity Slam. All of these will be killing those strike team members very, very quickly. Now, personally, I was quite surprised by a lot of these results. There's a few things that I thought would be a lot more effective against the strike team, and some things that I really didn't think would be effective, but it turns out they're super effective against them. I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of all this? Were you surprised by any of these counters? Also, what is your favorite counter to use against a strike team? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.